What is up, guys? In this video we're going to be going over how you can use recursion in JavaScript, and let's get started immediately as always by creating a variable which is going to be called connection, because I want to create a realistic example with recursion so you won't be too confused later. So we're going to pretend the initial connection is set to false, which means the user is not connected to any connection. Let that be the internet or some other mobile data. Then we are going to create another variable called connection attempts, and we're going to set it at 0. So far we haven't tried to make a connection, and when we do, it's going to increment the connection attempt in case it doesn't work the first time. We will be able to understand how many times we tried to connect. So we'll save that and we will continue with our function. So now we can go ahead and create a function which we are going to call connect to internet. And inside here we are going to write if the connection attempts are more than 3, then we're going to pretend that the fourth connection was a successful one and the computer will connect. And this is just a simulation, so it's not really connecting to anything, but we need to simulate it somehow. And we're going to just say that after 3 attempts, it's going to finally connect. So inside here, we're going to type in connection will be set to true. So that will update. And we are going to log that you are now connected. And I also want to update the text on our web page to connected. So we're just going to call the document.getElementById. And as in my other videos, it is referred to as header text. And of course, this has to be in quotation marks. And inner HTML is going to equal connected. So this block will be executed if the connection attempts are more than 3. But in case we're not there yet, we need to, of course, increment it. So we will eventually arrive there. So in here, we're going to go ahead and type in connection attempts ++. Then we can go ahead and log our connection attempts. So connection attempts plus connection attempts. So this will correspond to the variable up here, and it will increment each time we go through this loop, making sure that once we reach 3, it's going to say we are connected. And finally, we have come to the point that is the recursion. So you may be wondering, how can you increment this and try this again? Well, recursion has to do with calling the same function within a function over and over and over. And this is the similar effect you have when you put one mirror in front of another. It will continue going for the end of time, in theory, of course. So inside here, we're just going to type in connect to internet. So as you can see, every time it tries to go through this, it's first going to check whether we are connected or if we had more than 3 connection attempts. And if we don't have more than 3, it's going to go to the else statement. It's going to increment everything, and it's going to try again to connect to the internet. So as you can see in a real life scenario, this would be used to retry if the user doesn't have an internet connection. And usually that's done with maybe a 10-second countdown between each attempt. But in this example, we don't have a delay because that takes a few lines of code too many. So we're just going to leave it at that. And finally, let's go down and create the function which will trigger everything, which is function do something, because that's the ID I gave it on the onClick method in the HTML, of course. And inside here, we're just going to call connect to internet. So here we're calling it as a normal function, and here it turns into a recursive function. Now let's go ahead and click on save. And when we click on button, you'll notice it'll say connection attempts 1, 2, 3, 4. And once it is more than 3, it is going to connect to the internet because the 4th try was a successful one. And you can see that the text up here updated as well. So recursion just has to do with putting the function in another function indefinitely, essentially. And the only thing you should worry about is making sure that this function ends or has a sufficient delay that it doesn't call it a billion times in 1 second. Because if you take away any condition that ends this recursion or this recursive loop, you're going to have your browser freeze and nothing's going to happen because it's trying to compute so many things at once that your computer cannot handle it. And that's very similar to having a while loop which says while true and just prints a million statements forever. Your computer can't handle it, so just make sure you add some sort of condition that can stop the recursive loop from going on forever. But I hope this example explained to you a little bit about how recursion works and what you can use it for. I think the best example I could give was definitely this attempting to connect to the internet. But if you have any questions, feel more than free to leave them in the comment section below, and I'll do my best to answer them. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video.